Hi, my name's Laura Tyson. I'm Recording Products Training Manager for Roland. This video is designed to help you get started with some of the basic operations of the VS-890. In it, we'll cover topics such as recording, using effects, mixing, bouncing tracks, and using the CD recorder. For best results, watch this video a couple times through with the VS-890 in front of you. For information not covered in the video, please refer to your VS-890 Owner's Manual. So let's get started. To start off, we suggest you take a moment to study the layout of the VS-890 in order to familiarize yourself with the location of different buttons. Throughout this video, we'll refer to the Select buttons, the Status buttons, the Fader Edit button, the Edit Condition buttons, the Play Display button, the Time Value dial, the Parameter buttons, the cursors, the Shift button, and the transport controls. First, the Shift button. Press and hold Shift whenever you want to use a command indicated by a white box with white lettering. For example, to change a virtual track, hold Shift and press Select 2 for V-track. Next, use the Select button to specify a mixer channel. If you want to change the virtual track on track 1, first hold Shift and press Select 2 to choose the V-track mode, then release Shift and press Select 1 to specify channel 1 of the mixer. Use the Time Value dial to change a setting. We'll just call this the dial for the rest of the video. In most cases, the dial will change whatever is blinking in the display. Use the parameter buttons to choose other settings for a mixer channel. Press the right parameter button to see other settings available for track 1. Directly under the display, you'll find the Edit Condition buttons. These bring up the Song, Locator, Track Editing, Effects, and System menus. Each time you press an Edit Condition button, the display will cycle through the different choices available for that menu. Finally, use the Play Display button to back out of a display. Anytime you want to back out of a setting and return to the playlist display, simply press Play Display. You can think of this as an escape button. Your VS-890 already has a demo song called Pick Me Up recorded on it, and we'll use this song to explore some of the playback features. The song was saved using a feature called Song Protect, which means you won't be able to save any of the changes that you make to the song. We'll use this song to learn about using locators, soloing tracks, and muting tracks. To change songs, press Song. Look for Song Select in the display. If you don't see it, press Song until it appears. Press Yes. Use the dial to select Pick Me Up. Press Yes. Press Yes again. At Store Current, press No. As the song is loading, set each track fader to about the 0 dB level and keep the master fader all the way down. Press Play. Slowly raise the master fader until you reach a comfortable listening level. While the song is playing, press any of the lit locators. The VS-890 will instantly jump to a different point in the song. Use the Shift button for locators 5 through 8. To clear a locator, press and hold Clear and press the locator. Use Shift and Clear to clear locators 5 through 8. To store a locator, press any unlit locator. To solo a track, you must first engage the solo mode. Hold Shift and press Easy Routing. Now press any select button to solo that track. You may solo more than one track at a time. To exit the solo mode, hold Shift and press Easy Routing again. To mute a track, press the status button for the track you want to mute while the song is playing. When the button is unlit, the track is muted. To unmute the track, press the status button again to make it green. When you first turn on the VS-890, the display shows pre-fader track levels. Pre-fader levels show the actual recorded level of each track. The mixer faders will not affect the pre-fader level display. To change displays, hold Shift and press Play Display. This display shows post-fader track levels. This shows the levels of each track after it passes through the fader.
Shorty, I love the way you throw it down. Word around town, you the hottest thing around. Smooth flex in the crowd, got me standing on shaky ground. Since you've been found, baby, ain't no doubt we platinum bound. Out of control, like whoa, letting them know you ain't the one and only. Getting shows, you special.
This is called the playlist display. The playlist shows which tracks have material recorded on them. And this display shows fader and pan positions. The fader-pan display is very useful when using automation and mixer scenes. Each time you hold Shift and press Play Display, the display will cycle to the next of the 4 screens. Often you'll want to determine how much space a song is taking up on the hard drive. To see the song information display, first press Stop if the song is playing. Then hold Shift and press Song. Included in this display is the size of the song in megabytes. This song uses up 125 megabytes of drive space. Each of the VS-890's 8 playback tracks has 16 real recordable tracks called virtual tracks, or V-tracks as we call them, for a total of 128 tracks per song. You can use the virtual tracks to do things like record alternate takes, try a different vocalist, or create your own composite track. The virtual tracks are organized into 2 banks, Bank A and Bank B, each with 64 tracks. This demo song has several different vocal styles recorded on track 1. Press Stop if the song is currently playing. Hold Shift and press Select 2 to choose the V-track mode. Press Select 1 to specify track 1 is the one to change. The current V-track is V-track 2 from Bank A. Use the dial to select V-track 1. Press Locator 2 to locate to the first verse, and press Play to hear V-track 1 on track 1. Remember, you must press Stop before you can change a V-track. Press Stop. Use the dial to select V-track 3 for a totally different vocal style. Press Locator 2, then play.
Love the way you're throwing down. Word around town, you the hottest thing around. Flexing the crown, got me standing on shaky ground. Since you've been
One of the most important concepts for you to understand about the VS-890 is its mixer layout. Before we do our first recording example, let's take a look at how the VS-890's 16-channel digital mixer is set up. You can think of the VS-890 as having 2 completely independent mixers, an 8-channel input mixer and an 8-channel track mixer. The input mixer includes inputs for each of the 6 balanced analog inputs plus the 2 digital inputs. All sources that you plug into the VS-890 pass through the entire input mixer before they get recorded. Tracks that you've recorded play back through the 8-channel track mixer. During a mixdown session, you can combine the 8-channel input mixer with the 8-channel track mixer for a total of 16 channels of fully automated digital mixing. This is useful when you want to bring additional sources into your song, such as the output of MIDI sound modules. So how do you control 16 channels using only 8 faders? The answer is the Fader Edit button. Use the Fader Edit button to determine whether you're working on the input mixer or the track mixer. Notice the Fader Edit button changes color when you press it. If Fader Edit is yellow, all mixer settings, including fader levels, EQ, and effects, will apply to the input mixer. Press a Select button to specify which input to make settings to. If Fader Edit is green, all mixer settings, including fader levels, EQ, and effects, will apply to the track mixer. And press the Select button to specify which track to make settings to. If Fader Edit is red, the Select buttons are used to set the stereo input and effect return levels. Select buttons 6, 7, and 8 allow you to make settings on the stereo input, Effect 1 return, and Effect 2 return, respectively. No other Select buttons are used when Fader Edit is red. Mixer faders 6, 7, and 8 can also be used to set levels for the stereo input and the 2 effect returns. Here's a tip. Think of the input mixer as for audio that's about to be recorded, and the track mixer for audio that's already been recorded. And make sure you pay close attention to the color of the Fader Edit button, as the color determines whether the faders are being used to control the input mixer, the track mixer, or the effect returns. Also, when you change the color of the Fader Edit button, the information in the display will change accordingly to show information either on inputs, tracks, or effect returns. So now we're ready to try our first recording. Let's start by creating a new song. Press Song under the Edit Condition area. Press the right parameter button to display Song New. Press Yes. The display shows the sample rate. Press the right parameter button to find the option to change the recording mode. The VSR recording mode is the VS-890's 24-bit mode. When you use this mode, the 3-band EQ in the mixer cannot be used. For this test song, we'll use the Multi-Track 1 or MT1 recording mode. Use the dial to choose MT1. Press Yes. The display shows Create New Song. Press Yes. The display shows Create New Sure. Press Yes again. The display shows Store Current. This message asks if you want to save any of the changes you've made to the demo song. Since the demo song is protected, you won't be able to save any changes, so press No. Before we continue, let's name this song. Press Song under Edit Condition. Press the right parameter button until you see Song Name Protect. Press Yes. The VS-890 automatically gives each song a default name with a number. Use the dial and cursors to change the letters in the song name. Let's name this one Test Song. When you're done, press Play Display. To record on the VS-890, simply plug in your instrument or microphone, set the input sensitivity knob, arm the track, and start recording. For our first example, we'll record using a microphone plugged in to input number 1. Since the VS-890 already has a microphone preamp built in, all we need to connect a dynamic microphone is a cable that has a 1/4-inch tip ring sleeve connector at one end to a female XLR connector at the other. First, plug the mic into input 1. While talking or singing into the microphone, turn up the input sensitivity knob. Look for the peak light to eliminate. Then back it off so it lights occasionally. Press track 1 status to make it turn orange. Also pay close attention to the level meter in the display. Set the input sensitivity knob so the meter comes close to the top of the display but doesn't touch it. Press the status button for track 1 so it is flashing red. Put the track fader at 0
Left hand for the
and set the
headphones.
red master fader to 0.
Check, check,
Slowly
check,
bring
check,
up the
check,
phone's
check,
knob
check,
to
check.
hear yourself in the headphones. Press record, then press play.
The VS-890 24-bit digital studio workstation from Roland has everything you need to record, edit, mix, and master your own songs directly to CD.
Press stop. Press 0 rewind, and press play to hear the recording you just
The
made.
VS-890 24-bit digital studio workstation from Roland has everything you need to record.
The VS-890's default mixer setup is that input number 1 is connected to and ready to be recorded on track 1, input number 2 is connected to track 2, and so on. But what if we want to record input 1 onto track 3? Or we want to record from input 4 to track 7? Well, this type of setup is easy to configure. Just use the track status buttons. Here's how it works. First, decide what track you want to record on, and then decide which input you want to use. For our next recording example, we'll record on track 8, and we'll record using the microphone plugged in to input number 2. Go ahead and move the microphone from input number 1 to input number 2 and set the input sensitivity knob accordingly. Now remember, the fader edit button determines whether the faders and select buttons are used to control tracks or inputs. And for this example, we want to set the fader edit button so that it's yellow to select inputs. Since we want to select an input, press fader edit so it is yellow. The select buttons are now used to select inputs. Press and hold the status button for track 8. You'll notice select 8 blinking yellow. This shows input 8 is presently routed to track 8. While continuing to hold track 8 status, press select 8 once. It stops blinking. Press select 2. It now blinks yellow. This tells you input 2 is now connected to track 8. To check your work, press and hold the status button for track 8 again. Select 2 blinks yellow, indicating input 2. Another way to think of it is, track 8 is listening to input 2. It's possible to have one input assigned to several different tracks. This is convenient if you want to do some really quick overdubs. It's also possible to have several inputs all assigned to one track. This would be useful if you wanted to record a small choir using several microphones but only wanted to record onto one track. Before starting our recording, press fader edit to make it green. This will allow the faders to control the playback levels of the tracks as you're recording. Press track 8 status to make it blink red. Also, check your input levels in the display. For recording, you should monitor pre-fader levels. Hold Shift and press Play Display until you see the words Pre-Level in the top of the display. This will assure the display shows actual recording levels. Recording levels should be as high as possible without actually clipping. You might want to experiment with the input sensitivity knob to establish the best recording level for your music. To begin recording, press Record, bring fader 8 up to hear track 8, and play.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Press stop. Press 0 rewind to get back to the beginning, and press play.
1,
Once
2,
you're done recording to a
3,
track, press
4,
the status button to
5.
put the track in play mode. This will prevent you from accidentally recording over a good take.
Let's record again on the same track, but this time we'll use a different virtual track. And we'll also punch in and punch out between each recorded segment.
To change the V-track, hold Shift and press Select 2 for the V-track mode. Press Select 8 to specify track 8. The current V-track is 1. Use the dial to select V-track 2. Press Play Display. Press 0 to rewind to the beginning of the song. Begin recording just like in the previous example, but this time use the Record button to punch in and punch out on the fly.
One, 2, 3, 4.
After recording or making changes to a song, don't simply turn the VS-890 off or you'll lose all the work you've done. Save your song using the Store command. Hold Shift and press 0 Store. Press Yes to store. You should do this frequently while working on a song to avoid accidentally losing any material.
Your VS-890 has 2 stereo effects built right in. These effects are set up so that you can use them both during the recording process as well as during mixdown. In this next section of video, we'll show you how to do this. Let's cover a few recording terms you should be familiar with. The first is the verb print. When we say we're going to print a track, we basically mean we're going to record the track. When you print a track dry, it means the track doesn't have any effects on it. Whereas if you print a track wet, it means the effects have become a permanent part of the track. Typically, you would print your tracks dry and then add the effects during mixdown. Now, in some cases, you might decide you want to print your tracks wet. For example, if you wanted to record a vocal track with some reverb in such a way that the reverb becomes a permanent part of the track, you would be printing the track with the reverb. But the disadvantage to doing this is that you cannot remove the reverb from the vocal track later on. The advantage of printing your tracks with the effects is that it frees up the effects processor so it can be used for something else later on. In this next section of the video, we'll show you how to add effects to tracks that have already been recorded, as well as how to use the effects during the recording process. There are 2 different ways to connect effects in the VS-890. One way is called an effects send and return loop, or we call this an effects loop for short, and the other way is called an effects insert. Effects send and return loops are typically used for effects such as reverbs and delays. Each of the VS-890's mixer channels has 2 separate effects sends for each of the 2 effects that are built in. Plus, the input mixer also has effects sends on each channel. This means you could have 16 different channels all sending to the same reverb with different send levels on each channel. For this video, we'll refer to effects send and return loops as simply effect loops. Effects such as compressors, limiters, microphone models, and guitar amp models are typically connected using an insert. Each of the VS-890's 8-channel track mixer has inserts for these effects. However, unlike effects sends, if you have an effect inserted on one channel of the mixer, it cannot be used on another channel. For example, if I had a limiter set up and inserted on track 7, I would not be able to use that effect on other channels. If you're not sure whether an effect should be connected using an effects insert or an effects send, check the preset patch list in the VS-890 appendices. There are 2 general steps involved with using effects. Step 1 is select the effect. Select the effects using the effect button underneath the display.
Step 2 is connect the effect. Effects are connected using the mixer portion of the VS-890. To connect effect number 1, hold Shift and press Select number 7. To set up and connect effect number 2, hold Shift and press Select number 8. For our first example, we'll use a loop effect on the track we just recorded. We'll set up effect number 1 as a reverb, and we'll connect it on track 1. First, pick the effect. Press Effect under Edit Condition. The display shows Effect 1 PRM. Press Yes. Use the dial to select preset A03 Piano Hall. Press Yes. Next, connect the effect. Since we're working with recorded tracks, make sure Fader Edit is green. Hold Shift and press Select 7 to set up effect send number 1. Press Select 1 to specify track 1. Use the dial to select Post Fade. Play the track and you'll hear the added reverb. Press 0 rewind to get to the beginning. Press the right parameter button once, then use the dial to adjust the send level. When you're done, press Play Display to return back to the main screen. For our next example, we'll use a guitar effect and we'll insert it on a guitar track that was recorded in the song Pick Me Up. First, let's select the song Pick Me Up. Press Song under Edit Condition. Press the left parameter button until Song Select appears in the display. Press Yes. Use the dial to select the song Pick Me Up. Press Yes. The display shows Select Song Sure. Press Yes. The display shows Store Current. Press Yes if you want to save any changes you've made to the current song. Otherwise, press No. Let's bring up the dry guitar on track 1, V-track 5. Hold Shift and press Select 2 for the V-track mode. Press Select 1 to specify track 1. Use the dial to select V-track 5. Now let's pick the effect. Use Effect 2 this time. Press Effect under Edit Condition until you see Effect 2 PRM. Press Yes. Use the dial to select preset A88 Guitar Multi 1. Press Yes. Now connect the effect. Hold Shift and press Select 8 for Effect 2 routing. Press Select 1 to specify track 1. This screen is used to set up an effect send. In order to set up an effect insert, press the left parameter button until you see EFX2 insert equals off. Press locator 1 and then press play. Now use the dial to select insert. You should now hear the guitar effect on track 1. Remember, if you choose a stereo insert effect, that effect cannot be used on any other track or input. However, if you pick one of the dual mono insert effects, such as preset A96, that effect can be connected on any 2 channels by selecting insert left on one channel and insert right on the other. This means you can have the same insert effect on any 2 tracks or inputs. In some cases, you may decide you want to print insert effects such as compressors or microphone models. We'll show you how to do that next. As we mentioned before, you can record your tracks dry and then add effects later on. Let's go back to our test song to learn about using effects during the recording process. To change songs, press Song, press Yes. Use the dial to select Test Song. Press Yes. Press Yes again. At Store Current, press No. In this next section, we'll cover 4 examples of using effects during the recording process. In the first 2 examples, we'll show you how to use an effect during the recording process so the performer hears the effect while recording, but the track is printed dry. We'll explain how to do this for both an effects insert as well as an effect loop. And then we'll do 2 more examples. The following 2 examples will be how to record using an effect so that the performer hears the effect as they're recording and the track is printed with the effect. And we'll show you how to do this for both an insert effect as well as an effects loop. For our first example, we want to record while listening through an insert effect. You'd use this when you want to record a guitar track dry, but listen through one of the guitar amp models. Guitar amp models are typically connected using an insert. To do this, we insert the effect on the track mixer. We'll do the example using a guitar plugged into input number 1, and we'll record to track 6. The process of selecting effect 1 to be a guitar amp model is done exactly as before. Press Effect under Edit Condition. Look for Effect 1 PRM. Press Yes. Dial to preset A56 Match Lead. Press Yes. Now connect the effect. Make sure Fader Edit is green for the track mixer. Hold Shift and press Select 7 for Effect 1 routing. Press Select 6 for track 6. Press the left parameter button until you see FX1 insert equals off. Use the dial to select Insert. Then just record the track as usual. While listening to the track you just recorded, you'll hear the dry guitar when you turn the effect off. When you're done using an effect insert on one channel, turn it off so you'll be able to connect it on other mixer channels. For our next example, we want to record using an effects loop, but we don't want the effect to print. You'd do this when recording a vocalist who wants to hear plenty of reverb in the headphones, but you don't want the reverb to print. Reverbs are typically connected using an effects loop. To do this, we connect the effect on the track mixer. For this example, we'll record using a microphone plugged into input number 2, and we'll record to track 2. We'll select Effect 2 as a reverb as shown before. Press Effect under Edit Condition. Look for Effect 2 PRM. Press Yes. Dial to preset B01 Small Hall. Press Yes. Now connect the effect. Make sure the Fader Edit button is green. Hold Shift and press Select 8 for Effect 2 routing. Press Select 2 for Track 2. Use the dial to select Post Fade. Press the right parameter button, then use the dial to adjust the send level. Then record the track as usual.
The VS-890 24-bit digital studio workstation has everything you need to take your music from start to finish.
Our third example will show how to record and print a track through an insert effect. You'd use this when you want to record a vocalist through a compressor. And doing this frees the compressor up so that it can be used for something else later on. A compressor is normally connected using an insert, and so to accomplish this, we insert the compressor on the input mixer. For this example, we'll record using a microphone plugged into input number 2, and we'll set up effect number 2 as a compressor. Pick the effect. Press Effect under Edit Condition. Look for Effect 2 PRM. Press Yes. Dial to preset A66 Compressor. Press Yes. Connect the effect. Press the Fader Edit button so that it is yellow for the input mixer. Hold Shift and press Select 8 for Effect 2 routing. Press Select 2 for Input 2. Press the left parameter button to find FX2 insert equals off. Use the dial to select Insert. Effect 2 is now inserted on Input 2. And then just record the track as usual. Because the effect is connected on the input mixer, the effect will print to whatever track Input 2 is assigned to. For our last example, we want to print a loop effect. You'd use this, for example, when you want to record a vocalist with reverb such that the reverb becomes a permanent part of the track. Reverb is connected using an effects loop. Typically, the output of the VS-890's 2 effects are connected to and assigned to the stereo mix. To print the output of the effects, we're going to reassign it to the track where it will be recorded along with the vocal. To do this, we'll record using the microphone on input number 2. We'll record using effect number 1 set up as a reverb, and we'll take input number 2 and the output of effect number 1 and assign them both to track number 3 for recording. Pick the effect. Press Effect under Edit Condition. Look for Effect 1 PRM. Press Yes. Dial to preset A10 Vocal Plate. Press Yes. Connect the effect. Press Fader Edit so that it turns yellow. Hold Shift and press Select 7 to set Effect 1 mixer routing. Press Select 2 for Input 2. Use the dial to select Post Fade. Press the right parameter button and then use the dial to adjust the send level. Press the right parameter button again if you want to change the effect panning. Now we assign the effect returns to the track. Press Play Display. Make sure Fader Edit is still yellow. Hold Status 3. Select 3 is blinking yellow. Press it once. Then press Select 2. Input 2 is now connected to track 3. Press the Fader Edit button twice so that it's lit red. Hold Status 3 and press Select 7. Effect return number 1 is now routed to track 3 along with Input 2. Now begin recording as usual. Now here's some very important information. As long as a stereo return is connected to a track, it won't be heard in the stereo mix. Immediately after printing an effect, you'll need to reroute the effect return off of the track and put it back into the stereo mix. Right now, the output of effect number 1 is still connected to track 3. So we want to take this off of track 3 and put it back into the stereo mix. Here's how to do it. To reroute effect 1 back to the stereo mix, Make sure the Fader Edit button is red. Hold Status 3, press Select 7 to make it stop blinking. Here's a quick summary about using effects while recording in the VS-890. If you want to hear an insert effect without recording it, then insert the effect on the track mixer. If you want to hear a loop effect without recording it, then connect the effect on the track mixer. If you want to print an insert effect while recording, then insert the effect on the input mixer. If you want to print a loop effect while recording, then connect the effect on the input mixer and assign the effect return to the track. Here's one way to remember it. If you want to use an effect and have it print, connect it on the input mixer. If you want to use an effect during recording but not have it print, connect it on the track mixer. In this next section, we'll learn about bouncing tracks. Bouncing tracks in the VS-890 is simple. First, decide what tracks you want to bounce. These are called the source tracks. Then decide what track you want to bounce onto, and this is called the destination track. I've already shown you how to assign inputs to tracks for recording. For track bouncing, you simply assign tracks to tracks for recording. To learn to do this, we'll use the demo song, Pick Me Up, and we'll bounce tracks 3 through 8 onto tracks 1 and 2. Press Song. Press Yes. Use the dial to select Pick Me Up. Press Yes. Press Yes. And press Yes. To try bouncing tracks, first we'll need to turn Song Protect off. But keep in mind, by doing this, you'll be able to save some of the changes that you make to this song. If you want to keep this song in its original condition, just make sure that you answer No at the Store Current prompt. So first, let's turn Song Protect off. Press Song under Edit Condition. Press the right parameter button until you see Song Name Protect. Press Yes. Press the right parameter button again for Change Protect Off. Press Yes. First, let's set up tracks 1 and 2 as a stereo pair using Channel Link. Channel Link groups any 2 adjacent tracks as a stereo pair. Those tracks can then be controlled using one fader. Hold Shift and press Select 6 for the aux send settings. Then press the right parameter button once to get to Channel Link. Press Select 1 to specify track 1. Use the dial to turn Channel Link on. Once tracks 1 and 2 are linked, they are called Track A. Pick an empty V track. Since this song already has vocals recorded on tracks 1 and 2, we'll select an unused virtual track to record the bounce to. Hold Shift and press Select 2 for the V-track mode. Press Select 1 to specify stereo track A. Use the dial to select V-track 8. Press Play Display. Route source tracks to the destination tracks. Make sure the Fader Edit button is green. Press and hold Track 1's status button. Press Clear to instantly clear any previous mixer routing. Press the select buttons 3, 4, 5, and 7. This assigns the source tracks 3 through 8 to the destination tracks 1 and 2. Notice tracks 5 and 6 and tracks 7 and 8 are already set up as stereo-linked tracks in this song. Now, prepare the source tracks by setting fader levels and panning for each track. Keep the pan knob straight up for stereo tracks. Bring fader 1 up to hear your bounce as you record it. Set the display for pre-fader levels. This will allow you to check the actual recording levels during the bounce. Rehearse the bounce. Press status 1 a few times until it and status 2 are orange. Press 0 rewind to make sure you're at the beginning of the song. Bring up fader 1 to the 0 dB mark. Press play to rehearse the bounce. Decide on the starting positions of the source track faders and get your mix set up just how you like it. You can spend as much time as you like getting the mix just right on your source tracks. Bounce the tracks. Press status 1 one more time so it and status 2 are blinking red. Press 0 rewind to make sure you're at the beginning of the song. And get your faders in the correct starting position. Press record and then press play to begin bouncing. Any fader movements and panning you do on the source tracks will affect the destination tracks. Press stop. Rewind back and press play to hear your bounce. Don't worry if you make a mistake during the track bounce because you can always undo it. We'll show you how to do that later. The track bounce we just did had our source tracks assigned to the destination tracks and did not include the effects. That is, the outputs of the two effect processors were not included as part of the track bounce. If you want to bounce your tracks with effects, you need to make sure the outputs of both the effect processors are also assigned to the destination tracks. Here's how to do that. Press Fader Edit so that it is lit red. Press and hold the status button for your destination track. Press Select 7 to include Effect 1 Return in the bounce, and press Select 8 to include Effect 2 Return in the bounce. And then bounce your tracks just as shown in the previous example. Now, after you're done with the bounce, don't forget to reroute the output of the two stereo effect processors off of the destination tracks and back to the stereo mix like we showed you earlier. One feature you'll really learn to appreciate in the VS-890 is the undo button. Every time you make a new recording, edit a track, or bounce a track, and you decide you don't like it, you can undo it. For example, if you just bounced the track and then decided you didn't want to keep the track bounce, simply undo it. Press Undo. Use the dial to select the undo level. The VS-890 remembers up to 999 levels of undo. Typically, you'll use level 1 for the most recent recording or edit. Press Yes. Now the bounce is gone. You can also cancel the undo function. If you perform an undo and then realize, oops, I shouldn't have done that, you can redo the undo. Hold Shift and press Undo. Press Yes. This brings the bounce back. Let's try using the VS-890's Mixer Scene feature. A mixer scene is a recall of all mixer settings, including fader positions, panning, effects, virtual tracks, and more. You can save up to 8 different mixer scenes per song. And a mixer scene is a great way to take a song in a completely different direction, have a completely different sound, and then recall it with the touch of a button. The demo song, Pick Me Up, has 3 different mixer scenes already saved. To recall a scene, press Scene so that it is lit. Whenever scene is lit, the locators are used to recall mixer scenes. Since a scene recalls fader levels, you can keep all your track faders all the way down. If the song is playing, press Stop first. You cannot change scenes while the song is playing. Press Locator 1 to hear Scene 1. Rewind to the beginning of the song and press play.
Just pick me up, you wanna do it, baby? Just pick me up.
I need you.
Just pick me up, you wanna do it, baby? Just pick me up.
Pick me up and I kick it down, shake your body down to the ground. We can do it.
Press stop, then select Scene 2 to hear a totally different mix of the song.
Shout it! Love the way you're throwing down, word around town. You the hottest thing around, flexing the crown. Got me standing on shaky ground. Since you've been found, baby, ain't no doubt we platinum bound. Out of control, like whoa, letting them know you ain't the one and only. Getting shows, special, step to dance you bring the heat. All that is in some hard as you wanna be.
To clear a scene, hold clear and press the locator corresponding to the scene you wish to clear. Hold clear and press locator 4 to clear scene 4. To store a scene, spend as much time as you need setting up the mix, including selecting the virtual tracks, fader positions, panning, and effects. When your mix sounds just right, press any unlit locator to capture the mixer settings. Remember to use Shift to store and recall scenes 5 through 8. When you're done using scenes, press Scene once to return back to using locators. Now, by this time, you might be wondering what to do when your VS-890's hard drive fills up, or how you can save your songs for long-term storage. Well, for one, you can connect a number of different external SCSI drives to the SCSI port on the back of the VS-890 and then copy your songs to removable hard drives and other media. The CD recorder allows you to create audio CDs of your song right from the VS-890 and also lets you back up the internal hard drive. When you back up to the recordable CD, all song information is saved, including all 128 virtual tracks, all mixer settings, including effects, scenes, and automation, and all editing and undo levels. Blank recordable CDs are inexpensive and provide an affordable way to save your songs. To back up to a recordable CD, first make sure the Roland model VS-CDR CD recorder is properly connected to your VS-890 and powered on. Put a blank CDR in the drive. Press CD RW. Press the right parameter button until you see CD Backup in the display. Press Yes. You'll see Store Current in the display. Press Yes if you want to save the latest changes you made to the current song, otherwise press No. Wait a moment for the VS-890 to identify the CD recorder. CDR Back appears in the display. Use the dial to select the song you want to back up, or turn the dial all the way counterclockwise to select all songs. For now, we'll back up just the one song called Primal Stomp. Press the right parameter button to the Verify page. If you're in a hurry, you can set this to off. Otherwise, leave it on. Press the right parameter button to set the CDR record speed. Use the dial to select the highest number for fastest results. Then press Yes. A recordable CD holds 650 megabytes worth of data. If the song or songs you selected for backup is under 650 meg, then they will fit on one disk. But if they're over 650, then you'll need to have 2 blank disks ready. Now, if that's the case, the VS-890 will prompt you to insert the second disk. Then simply follow the on-screen instructions, and soon your songs will be safely backed up to recordable CD. Once the song is backed up to CDR, use Song Erase in the Song menu to erase it from the internal hard drive. Doing so will free up more recording time on the hard drive. When you're done using the VS-890, it's very important to always use the shutdown procedure before turning the power off. To shut down, hold Shift and press Stop, Shut, Eject. Press Yes. Press yes to save any changes you've made to the current song. We hope you found this video helpful in learning some of the basic features of the VS-890. For information not covered in the video, please consult the VS-890 Owner's Manual and Appendices. For the latest information on new products, support documents, upcoming Roland events, and more, visit Roland's website, www.rolandus.com. If it's a real live person you want, we've got a team of product specialists waiting to help you. They're on call weekdays from 8:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Just call area code 323-890-3741.